Well, there are three principles to instantaneous transformation. So before we tell you how we narrowed them down, because we didn't really, they just sort of jumped out at us, we should probably tell you what those principles are. The first principle of instantaneous transformation is that anything you resist will persist, it will grow stronger, it'll dominate your life.
The first principle is where most people are stuck in their lives. They resist something, and then whatever they resist sticks around, and so that follows you around in your life. Now, that brings us to the second principle. The second principle says you can only be exactly as you are in the current moment of now. So in this moment of now, you can only be watching this video because that's what you're doing. So if that's the case, if you can't be different than you are in the current moment, then in any moment of now, you could have only been exactly as you were. So your whole life has been a series of moments of now, and they've unfolded how they have, and they were complete in each moment. Now, of course, you do things that influence how future moments show up when they show up, but they only show up in the current moment of now.
So in any given moment, you can only be exactly as you are in that moment.
And what's happened in your past could only have happened in your past because your past was made up of moments that showed up the way they did. Now this brings us to the third principle. Since life shows up the way it does, if you allow it to be as it is, anything that you allow to be as it is completes itself. But your resistance to the way life shows up keeps it stuck. That's the first principle. Second principle is it shows up the way it does. See, it's a perfect cycle of beginning, middle, and end. Inception, continuance, and completion, if you allow it to complete itself. If you don't resist it, if you don't add energy to it, either positive or negative, it completes itself. Life is in a process of completing itself.
What it takes for completion is a non-judgmental approach where you see, as Shya was talking about earlier in the earlier segment, your life as if you're an anthropologist, where you get interested in how it's put together rather than judging the segments of it as if you're doing it right or wrong, but simply get interested in the isness of something.
In the how you do it, rather than judge yourself for how you do it. Now here's the thing. We say it's an anthropological approach. It is. And we all are born into ongoing cultures, and those cultures predetermine our lives pretty much because they program us for life. As infants, we come in pretty empty, and then we are filled up with the culture that we grow up in. And so what you consider beautiful or ugly or good or bad or right or wrong are all determined by the culture which you were raised in. Now, if you don't judge that culture, but notice how it functions, that's the third principle. It completes the hold of the culture that predetermines your life so that you start determining your life.
Now, occasionally people have a little challenge with the second principle. The first one they resist something, you take it home with you at night, you're familiar with that. Second one, sometimes people think, well, I could be someplace else, but if you really look, you can see that
in reality, you can only be
here.
Where you are.
The third principle is the one people find most challenging.
Because they're raised in a changed modality. You see, most all of us have been raised with the idea that if you see something that does not fit the way you want it, you do something to fix or change it. But with transformation is very different. It's about just seeing something the way it is, and that's enough for it to complete itself.
Now, you may think that the third principle is not enough, that you have to do something. But if you try it out, check it out, see, you may discover that it is enough to transform the quality of your life in an instant. And you practice it over time, and your life becomes amazing.
I'll give you another little tip, though. If you want to really have an amazing life, start by being kind to yourself. So if there was a fourth principle, that would be it. Be kind to yourself. See, your life shows up the way it does. Your judgments about how it's showing up cause you a lot of pain. But if you notice how you behave and you don't beat on yourself for it, but just see it third principle, that's enough for it to complete itself. And being kind to yourself really helps. A little compassion goes a long way.
For more information about the Kanes, their books and seminars, and the Premium Excellence Club, go to transformationmadeeasy.com.